In today's clip, I'm going to address one of the greatest cooking techniques of all time, fried foods. Or maybe not so much the technique, but more about the food itself. Hey, XenPuck here. So, because of the pandemic that's lasted, oh man, how long has it been? Going on 1.5 years almost now, right? Hasn't it? I've done a lot more cooking than I've ever imagined that I would. And yet, there is one style of cooking that I've mostly stayed away from, despite the fact that I love, love, love it so. And that is fried foods. Look, I think it's pretty easy to tell why I'd say, well, it's easy to stay away from actual deep frying, right? It's just very hard to achieve in a non-commercial kitchen. And it's especially hard for someone like me who really hates waste, right? So the idea of dumping half a bottle of oil to use for one batch of fried whatever, that's just excruciating. I won't do it. No, 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 no sirree. And yet, I love fried food, so I want to profess all the reasons why I love it to begin with, despite the fact that it's hard to replicate, at least personally, at home, right? Number one, the best reason to love fried food is that I think fried anything basically makes it better. Yeah. Don't know if you guys agree, but I have some examples of things that I don't usually like. But once you fry it, my God, it becomes amazing, right? One of the few fried foods that I used to actually go out of my way to look for is fried vegetables, actually. Specifically, I think I had a bar food that was fried zucchini or one of the melon types. And I thought it was amazing, to be honest. It makes regular vegetables, you know, kind of like the regular boring vegetables not taste like crap. I mean, you guys should know that I'm a carnivore, so usually I don't seek out vegetables, right? Vegetables are just something to be had, you know, I don't know, so that I would feel less guilty. And yet, I think I spent about 1.5 years looking for bars that actually had fried zucchini, just specifically that, because, you know, the crispiness on the outside and the crunchiness and the juiciness of the actual melon type of vegetable together, I was like, great combination, huge fans. Second example, fried offals, actually. So on my first attempt to make some sweetbreads, oh my God, I just messed up, okay? The smell alone in the kitchen as my first experiment happened almost made me want to hurl, okay? I was like trying to saute it. Apparently, blanching has its purpose. Oh well, still, I took half of my sauteed batch and I just deep fried it. And guess what? Oh my God, just the simple technique of deep frying, you know, in some flour made what used to make me almost want to hurl totally edible, and I think I snacked on those for the rest of the afternoon. I mean, to be fair, because I didn't blanch the offals, it's still, you know, even the post-fried version maybe triggered my gag reflex a little bit. Okay, I have to be honest. So it wasn't great, but it definitely went from like terrible to edible. So I think that's a huge improvement. Sub-example number 3, fried potatoes. Now hear me out. You know, first of all, I'm not counting potatoes in the category of vegetables, right? Because they're really starches, right? I don't think most people, certainly the most parents wouldn't count potatoes as vegetables, right? And I'm not saying that people aren't generally a fan of potatoes. I am a huge fan of potatoes, but I think potatoes by itself is quite bland, right? You have to either douse it in cream, you know, in mashed potatoes, or do what I'm talking about here, which is French fries, right? Fried potatoes. What I think is most interesting is that French fries is literally the go-to side for pretty much all restaurants in the entire Western Hemisphere, right? And what's especially special about French fries is that they're not just for carnivores like me, right? For a change, this one item serves people who have as varied diets as me, a consummate carnivore, and also the strictest of vegans, right? That fact astounds me because normally I thought I would have nothing in common with those kind of people, you know, the people who can't appreciate lard and flesh and blood. And yet, I do have something in common with them, right? We all love fries. Fries really brings the world together. You can make it taste like whatever you want because, you know, there's all sorts of condiments that people put on it. I mean, let me be honest, I don't think I've ever met anyone that doesn't like fries. I think that fact alone is amazing. Okay. Point number 2. Yeah, fried chicken. Okay. That deserves its own category because it will always maintain a huge primary spot in my heart. All right. God bless KFC. I mean, obviously, I also like Popeyes. I like Church's. I've had Roy Rogers. Enjoy that too. Nothing will ever have a spot in my heart as good old KFC. That military man and his chicken friends. Good old Colonel. This type of fast food I'd list as, you know, one of the only types of foods anywhere that I think is more cost-effective to buy than to make at home, right? The value proposition is just immeasurable, unlike a steak or burger or, say, fish fillet, salmon or whatever. Doing fried chicken at home is just not really possible unless you want to eat fried chicken like every day, and that would be a basic death sentence, so don't do that. But more on that later, right? In the meantime, you know, for ready-made goodness that's also delicious, you know, straight out of the fridge, like after you have it for seconds or thirds, you just can't go wrong with fast food fried chicken, right? Point number 3. I'd like to go on a tangent and also mention, let's not forget chicken katsu or pork katsu. I mean, I'm Chinese and we have a complicated history with the Japanese, I'm not gonna lie, but one thing I'll say about those guys, they really take each and every task that can be repeated to heart, right? And obviously that includes a lot of cooking. And the Japanese style of katsu fried foods, I mean, somehow it makes even fried foods look less like severe and oily. I mean, I'm not a food scientist. I'm just going by mouthfeel. And I think the Japanese katsu style fried foods really deserves their own spot because it's really, somehow you eat it and you don't feel guilty. So in case you're wondering, you should try that out if you've never had it, right? Point number 4. Oh, I wanted to really harp on how in this country that I live, in the US, good old US of A, we fry like everything up until things like ice cream. I don't even know how they do that, but I have tried it. You know, you've got that crispy crust with some savory spices, but inside it's a cool, delicious, liquidy, sweet surprise. I mean, to me, this is just the ultimate of indulgences, right? I mean, all fried foods are indulgences, but this is going crazy, right? And there are other types of fried foods that are really off the beaten path, like fried Oreos or fried cookie or candy varieties. Those are not really my cup of tea because I don't need even more sugar in my diet, but the level of innovation for heart attackiness or sugar skyrocketing highness, I mean, this is one reason I love about this country, right? Puck yeah, America, you know, just we take something that's rich and delicious and we just go completely overboard with it. I mean, you just gotta love it, right? Of course, fried food has only one downside that I can think of, which is don't eat it all the time. Now you should know how I feel because I'm me, because I believe all good things are supposed to be occasional indulgences, right? After all, food indulgences are simply similar to like lifestyle creep, but with like food creep, right? Food indulgence creep. Same idea, but for food. Like if you eat sweets or fried goodness all the time, I mean, in the case of fried ice cream, it's literally both of these, right? If you do that all the time, the effect simply just deteriorates, right? You lose the fun that the enjoyment that you get out of it. And why would I want that, right? I mean, let me be clear, there's all sorts of rich foods that I love, like steak, lobster, fried chicken's a fantastic one, foie gras, beautiful, beautiful, delicious offals. But I don't try to eat them every week or even every month, right? It's the rarity that makes it special, right? So just please, please, please keep that in mind, right? We human beings are highly adapted. And if you don't space out your indulgences, even if you can afford it, I mean, the only person that's gonna hurt is you, yourself, okay? And I'm not really talking about in terms of like health-wise effect alone. I'm talking about like mental effects, right? What would be the point of finding these great, delicious fatty foods or delicious fried foods if you literally just eat it all the time, and you will never, ever, ever be able to enjoy it again, right? And that's what I think is sad mentally, right? I want to continue to love the rich, happy goodness that is fried food for the rest of my life. That's why I don't eat it that often, right? Because I want to remain, I want the food group, fried foods, to remain special and dear to my heart. All right, guys, how do you guys like your fried foods? Do you guys like fried Twinkies or fried zucchini like I do? Tell me about it in the comments below. And in the meantime, check out some other clips up above. Till next time, cheers.